Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Bhagavad-Gita as it is. Chapter 18, Perfection and Renunciation, text number 58, page 743. Machita sarva durgani matsa prasad tarishadi yasi Atha cetvam ahankarang na shoshasi vinaksyasi machita saradurgani mat prasadat sarishati Irishasi Ata cetvam ahankaram Nasosyasi Vinaskyasi. Translation, no word for word. Mat of me, Chita, being in consciousness. Sarva, all. Durgani, impediments. Mat prasadat, by my mercy. Darishasi, you will overcome. Ata, but. Chet, if. Tvam, you. Hankarat, by false ego. Nasosyasi, do not hear. Minaksayasi, you will be lost. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation, if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. Purport. A person in full Krishna consciousness is not unduly anxious about executing the duties of his existence. The foolish cannot understand this freedom from all anxiety. For one who acts in Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna becomes the most intimate friend. He always looked after his friend's comfort and gives himself to his friend who is so devotedly engaged, working 24 hours a day to please the Lord. Therefore, no one should be carried away by the false ego or the bodily conception of life. One should not falsely think himself independent of the laws of material nature or free to act. He is already under strict material laws. As soon as he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is liberated from the material perplexities. One should know very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness is losing himself in the material whirlpool, in the ocean of birth and death. No conditioned soul actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. A person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master. Om Arginantra Imandasya Janadana Sakaya Chakshurlimitaim Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Danti Swapadantikam. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Smukam Karoti Vachalam. By the mercy of the spiritual master, a dumb man can speak elegant words, a blind man can scale mountains, and a dog can swim across the ocean. Translation once again. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If I already do not work in such consciousness but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. So these verses, 18th chapter, coming to the conclusion of the Bhagavad-Gita. So text number 56 to 66 talks about surrendering to Krishna. Surrender, by dictionary definition, means to give oneself to another controller. And here Krishna says that I know what is to be done and what is not to be done, what is beneficial for everyone. So devotee is paradukkha dukhi. Devotee has compassion for the fallen conditioned souls because they're in this illusion. They don't know what is to be done, what is not to be done in relation to their spirit, their body and soul, or in relation to the soul. Even what to speak. Most people don't even don't even know that they have a spirit. They're a spirit soul. They just think they're the body. Prakriti kriyamani gunakarmani sarvasaha hankara viruatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of three modes of material nature, thinks himself to do activities which is actually carried out by nature. So when we come in this material world, the living aid makes a sound. It's called bloop. That's what we used to say when someone leaves the movement. We say he blooped. Because when you come in the material world, by the arrangement of the material energy, one becomes covered by this false ego and by the three modes of material nature. So, in that condition, one is bound for time immemorial under the stringent laws of the material nature, like someone bound by hand and foot by a strong rope. He can't free himself. He has to take someone's help. But everyone in the material world, they're bound up hand and foot, but they're not looking for help. Or at least they think everything's okay, I'm alright. You go to the hospital, you ask people, how are you? They always say, I'm fine. Then they would say, well, what are you doing in the hospital then if you're fine? So this is the illusion. So here, there's two kinds of people in this world. Those who surrender to Krishna and those who don't surrender to Krishna. And Krishna is telling Arjuna in this verse that you can act either way. You can surrender to me and fight, or if you act through false ego, then you'll be lost. And the next verse, 59, the commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells Arjuna that you have to fight. If you don't fight, then eventually you're going to fight anyway, because that's your nature, and then I'll laugh at you. So in this way, Bhagavad-Gita is the handbook, or law book, or a handbook to instruct people, because people don't know what is to be done and what is not to be done in terms of their spiritual life, their life. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there's 4 kinds of people that don't surrender to Krishna. Namam duskritino mudha prabhajante naradama maya prakriti jnanam ashuram bhava ashritaha. Those miscreants are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and partake of the atheist nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So the miscreants, the mudhas, are like the ass. We see in Vrindavan, they still have these, they use the ass for carrying loads. So the ass carries heavy loads all day long, and then at the end, he gets a little grass to eat. But he doesn't realize that he doesn't have to carry that load because there's grass everywhere. But he does it anyhow. And then he goes to have sex life with the she-ass, and she kicks him in the face. So this is the mudha. He's working hard day and night, and he just gets kicked by Maya, by material energy. And then there's the lowest of mankind. And there are Naradama. They have people who work hard and try to make a lot of money or do whatever they can to be happy in this world. But it's all illusion. And because you can't be happy in this world, Prahlad Maharaj says, as soon as you endeavor for happiness, that's when your distress begins. So it's already been decided by Providence how much we're going to enjoy and how much we're going to suffer. So either way, so we know the story of Sudama Brahman. He was suffering. He was a Brahmin, and him and his wife were living very peacefully, but they didn't have sufficient food, didn't have clothing, but still they accepted it as the will of Providence. So his wife said to Sudama Brahman, you should go to your friend Lord Krishna. And she was hoping that he could help his impoverished condition. But he was surrendered to Krishna, and Krishna was his best friend. So he went to Krishna, but he didn't ask anything from Krishna. But still, because Krishna knew he wasn't motivated, materially motivated, when he returned to his village, when thinking that Krishna hadn't given him everything, it had turned into a palatial building, and his wife turned into a beautiful lady, and he turned into a beautiful man, and he got more opulence than the king of heaven, because he was a surrendered soul to Krishna. He didn't have to make some endeavor. It came on its own accord. So he was a special case. We know Madhavendra Puri would never ask anybody for prasadam. If it came on its own accord, he would eat. If it didn't come, he would fast. So this is the dependent, those who are dependent are surrendered souls, who are depending on Krishna. But the Mudha and the Naradama, they are never surrender to Krishna, because they don't believe in God. They say there's no God. I met one man, he said there's no God. But after some time, I was on an airplane sitting next to this man, he said there's no God. So I didn't preach to him, because you're not supposed to preach to the faithless, but I talked to him for a while and gave him some prasadam. Then when before the end of the trip, he said to me, well, maybe there is a God. So he had changed of heart. So those people do not surrender to Krishna, but it's still possible to preach and the Srila Prabhupada's books, and maybe in the future sometime they may get a change of heart. Then there are Prakriti, the Maya Prakrita Gyan, which means those where knowledge is stolen by illusion. The scientists, the philosophers, so many kinds of politicians, so many kinds of people who think they're very knowledgeable, think they're very intelligent. There's one article in the last BTG where the scientist is saying that free will is something that's inherent in the living entity due to the arrangement of the chemicals in the brain, the protons, neutrons, these things. Trying to give us scientific explanation of free will. He says free will is just an illusion by religious people, and that it just happens. Things happen to the individual according to his chemical makeup. But other scientists don't agree with this fact, and if it's a fact that the free will is governed by the chemicals, then there would be no need for law and order. There'd be no need for laws for people to follow, because people do something against the law, they can just say, well, I didn't do it, the chemicals did it. So that doesn't really make much sense. The judge won't accept that excuse. They'll still sentence you for committing a crime. So although it's subtle, the subtle body, the false ego, mind intelligent false ego is there. It can't be perceived. But everybody has a mind, everyone has intelligence, everyone has a false ego. So it's not just some religious belief or some illusion. But because Krishna is telling Arjuna that you should not act out of false ego, or you will be lost. In other words, you'll have to remain in the cycle of birth and death. And then the final category here are the atheists. The Ashram Bhavam Ashritaha. And people are atheistic people. They say there is no God, and that you can do whatever you want. You're not responsible for your activities. I don't know how, but when people are in a dangerous situation, then they pray to God for help. But people don't believe in God. They say, communists said that the religion was the opium of the people. So when after World War II, the communists came to the people and said, well, if there's a God, you go to your church and pray for bread. So they went to church and prayed for bread, but no bread came. So then the communists brought the truckload of bread and gave it to the people. They said, well, what's better, your God or a communist? So they lost their faith in God. Of course, God's not our water supplier, but not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Lord. And according to the will of the Lord, material nature is providing everything for all living entities. So no one, we think that human beings think that they have to work very hard to go to this market, to go to the store, to buy things, to get their food and maintenance. But all the other living entities, our 8,400,000 species, only human species have this mentality. All the other species are getting their necessities without working, without making any special endeavor. It's like an elephant eats 100 pounds of grass every day, an ant eats 1 grain of sugar, but somehow they're getting their quota. So also, the human being has a quota. Ishavasha idam sarvam. One should only take that which is quota. But because of misdirected, misguided civilization, people don't just take their quota. If a bag of grain is left out in the middle of the road, birds will come and eat a few grains and go away. But the human being will take the whole bag and store it for the future. So in this way, people don't know what is to be done and what is not to be done. In these categories, these people never surrender to Krishna. And they are lost in the whirlpool of repeated birth and death. So then, there are 4 kinds of people who do surrender to Krishna. Tatur vida bhajante mam yana sukritin arjuna atotu girnashu artarti yani cha patar basaha. O best among Bharata, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, desire of wealth, inquisitive, and searching for knowledge of the Absolute. So surrender means giving oneself to another controller. To surrender is not an easy job, but for those who joined the Krishna conscious movement in the early days, we came to Krishna consciousness because we could see that it offered a better way of life than living in the material world. So I can say for myself, when I joined the movement, I had some money, but by practicing Krishna consciousness, I wasn't attached to anything. So eventually, I gave all my money to the temple because I didn't have a need for it. Here it says here that Krishna removes the suffering and gives himself to that devotee. So the devotees don't have to be in anxiety about their existence, about their maintenance, because Krishna is providing everything. Of course, that does not mean we sit down in one place like the Python man. Prahlad Maharaj met a Python man, and he was fully surrendered to Krishna. Whoever came his way, he would take that. So sometimes he ate, sometimes palatable food, sometimes he ate stale food, sometimes he dressed nicely, sometimes he slept on a bed, sometimes he slept on the ground. Either way, he was satisfied in all conditions of life. So the devotee is satisfied. He's not in anxiety about keeping up with the status quo, about getting a new, bigger car, a bigger house, this, that, and always meditating on how to, it says in the 12th canto Bhagavatam that the persons in Kali Yuga will think the only goal of life is the filling the belly. So we see that nowadays there's so many fast food chains and restaurants all over Vrindavan, all over the world, and people are just interested in filling their belly. But this only leads to more and more problems. But here, those who surrender to Krishna, they have a different lifestyle and are not in any way in anxiety about their choice of becoming devotee. And so, Davyesha Gunamayi Mamamaya Duratnyaya. This material nature is very difficult to overcome, but those who surrender unto me can easily cross beyond it. So it's a matter of surrendering to Krishna. And the more we surrender to Krishna, the more we get free from the influence of the modes of material nature. So in this purport, Prabhupada is giving Arjuna, or still trying to convince Arjuna that he should fight because it's his duty, and says you should become conscious of me, then you'll be free from all obstacles. One devotee wrote a letter to Prabhupada and said he had some pitfalls in his devotional service. But Prabhupada said, what are those pitfalls? I kick out all those pitfalls. I can kick out all those pitfalls immediately. So the devotee, we have to follow the process of sadhana bhakti. And first we have to engage in the 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Then we will become a Parnista Tita devotee, or devotee who has attained the goal with the sadhya. So now we're practicing Vaidhi Bhakti. That means we have to follow all the rules and regulations. Come to the morning program, chant 16 rounds, no meeting, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. And in all case, be a surrendered soul. So the 6 symptoms, 6 divisions of surrender are given. Anu 6 divisions of surrender. Anukulasya samkalpa, Patikulasya vardhanam, Rasikya titi vishvaso, Goptri tve vanatata, Amanik sepa karpaye, Sadvidi sarangati. 6 divisions of surrender are accepting those things favorable to devotional service, rejection of unfavorable things, the conviction that Krishna will give protection, the acceptance of the Lord as one's guardian or master, full surrender, and humility. So, here in the purport process, only Krishna knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But devotees also know what is to be done, what is not to be done, by accepting the Guru. Tadvidi paripaptenam paripasena sevaya updeksyanti jagyanas yanas tapadarshanaha. We have to accept the spiritual master. If one has a bona fide spiritual master, then he can guide one properly. It's like if you're drowning in the well and someone throws you a rope. If you don't want to grab onto the rope, then you'll remain in the well. But if you grab the rope, then they can pull you out of the well. So it's like that. The spiritual master is throwing us the rope to pull us out of the cycle of repeated birth and death, to pull us and gives us all guidance. Guru must be there in any phase of life. If you're going to become a doctor, you may read all the books about medicine, but you also have to go to the medical school and take instruction from the expert doctors. Then you can get a degree. You can't do it on your own. So no one can become Krishna conscious on their own. Reading Prahlad Maharaj was saying yesterday that it was due to the mercy of his guru, Narada Muni, Das Mukunda Mala Sutra by King Kurukshetra. He says that 7 times, Das. So we're the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. No one can go say there directly. If someone says, I'm a devotee of Krishna, but not a devotee of Krishna, and Krishna doesn't accept that person. So we have to go through these 6 Goswamis, get the mercy of Krishna. We have to go through first we have to go through the Guru Parampara. We have to accept the bona fide spiritual master in Parampara. Then we have to get the mercy of the 6 Goswamis, who were totally surrendered souls. They gave up everything. They left all material life. They came to Vrindavan and performed devotional service 24 hours, practically almost 24 hours a day. Gave up eating and sleeping, minimum eating, sleeping. Raghunath Das Goswami would sleep only 90 minutes a day. He only took a cup of chach every other day. And all the other Goswamis, they took a handful of chickpeas and some dry bread, and they spend their lives merged in the mellows of Krishna consciousness, the mellows of Radha and Krishna's loving affairs, talking about Krishna throughout the day and night. So they were fully surrendered to Mahaprabhu and to the Krishna conscious movement, and they were dedicated their lives. They followed instructions. Rupa and Sanatana Goswami were instructed by Mahaprabhu to write books on the science of Krishna consciousness for the benefit of all human society, and to excavate and rediscover the lost places of Krishna's pastimes, which in time had been covered over. So they did that because they were fully surrendered souls. Although Rupa and Sanatana Goswami were working in the Muslim government, they had Muslim names, Muslim dress, and they had boatloads of silver and gold, and they were ousted from the Brahminical caste. But still, when they met Mahaprabhu, and they decided that it was better to leave everything and give their life to Krishna consciousness. So this was one example. This example of how they were so surrendered to Mahaprabhu and to the Krishna consciousness. So also many devotees in this movement had come from wealthy families, gave up their families, gave up their wealth, gave up everything, and took the life of tapasya, or penance. Even Lord Brahma, when he was born on the lotus flower, he didn't know exactly how. He knew he was supposed to create the universes, but he didn't know how to do it. So he heard the word tapa. He sat in meditation for 100 years. And then after that, Lord Krishna became pleased with him, and our Lord came and shook his hand. So this handshaking is not something new. It started at the beginning of creation. So we do that. In America, it's customary. When you meet someone to shake their hand, they don't do it so much in India. Anyway, that was the beginning. And then Lord was pleased with Lord Brahma for his tapasya, which was not Mayavadi or impersonal or yoga practice, but it was considered bhakti-yoga. And this way, the Lord was pleased with him. Yasha prasada bhagavad prasado. If you please the Lord, you're pleased the Lord's devotees, then the Lord is pleased with you. And then he showed him all the Vaikuntha worlds, and then he imparted knowledge, the vague knowledge in his heart. Tene Brahma Hridaya Kavaye. So this is the process of Krishna consciousness, is that we have to always be surrendering, always be mindful, what am I doing, if I'm doing something which is favorable for Krishna consciousness or not favorable. And we have to always feel oneself meek and humble. Janata peace and ichena trura pisisana manya mandena kirtan yasad hari. In this way, you can chant the holy name 24 hours a day. When you're in this, then there's no trace of false ego. So, Brahma said we should be conscious. First we should be conscious, then we should become Krishna conscious. So, it's not that we should be neglectful in any way in ordinary dealings, but at the same time, Nirbandham Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Ujjate. So we can utilize everything in Krishna's service. When Prabhupada was talking with one man, and the man was confused. He said, I thought you were chanting all 24 hours a day, but I see you're doing so many other things. So Prabhupada said, well, put your ear on my back. So the man did that, and he heard Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So devotees are active. Prabhupada made this movement, and we're active. Now we're having a marathon, so devotees are out distributing books, distributing Bhagavad-Gitas, but at the same time, they're also do not give up their sadhana. Do not give up chanting 16 rounds. They may not have a morning program for 1 month or less of a morning program, but they still understand that what they're doing is for Krishna's pleasure. So we should not act for our own pleasure, but we should do everything which is favorable for Krishna consciousness, for pleasing Guru and Krishna. But again, we can't go to Krishna directly, and people have misunderstanding that they know Bhagavad-Gita, they know Krishna, but they're not really surrendered to Krishna, and they're only make a show of becoming Krishna conscious. And we know that when Vamadev came to Bali Maharaj, he asked for 3 steps of land, and Bali Maharaj promised to give him 3 steps. Sugacharya told him that this is the Lord Vishnu, and if you give him 3 steps of land, he'll take everything. So Bali Maharaj didn't want to break his promise, and he was the in control of all the king of all the demons, all the higher planetary system. He had everything in his hands, but still he'd rather become a a penniless beggar than not to break his promise to Lord Vamadev. So in this way, he gave everything to Lord Vamadev. And of the 9 processes, devotional service, surrender is the last one. And Bali Maharaj was the example of the someone who surrendered fully. So he surrendered everything to Vamadev. Vamadev took everything, but then he gave, told Bali Maharaj to go down to the lower planet and live there. But he gave more opulence than King of Heaven, and he's the eternal doorman. Vamadev became the eternal doorman for Bali Maharaj to protect him from attack of demons. Even Ravana came there to attack Bali Maharaj. Vamadev kicked him 80,000 miles. So this way, so many stories of different people who are surrendered. Prahlad Maharaj was a surrendered soul. Even he heard it from his guru, Narada Muni, in the womb. So when he came out of the womb, he was always Krishna conscious. Never a time was he out of Krishna consciousness. And then he was had no anxiety for his body, even though his father, Hiranyakashipu, was a big demon and tried to kill him in so many ways. Prahlad Maharaj wasn't disturbed. But when, same with Dhruva Maharaj, he was a 5-year-old boy. He went to the forest and got the darshan of the Lord. But he became Krishna conscious. So there are different examples of people who are surrendered souls and are always Krishna conscious throughout their whole lives. Even at the end, Dhruva Maharaj became the king of the demons, and the Lord told him that you should rule the demons for one lifetime of Manu, which is 4,300,000 times 1,000, which is a incredible length of time. But he told him that at the same time that he will not become materially entangled. He'll still always remain Krishna conscious. So Arjuna has a choice. He has his free will. So Krishna is telling me, you act according to my instructions, then you'll be acting properly. But if you act according to free will, then you'll be acting improperly. So it says only Krishna knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. And if we read Prabhupada's books, then we also know what is to be done and what is not to be done. In this age of Kali Yuga, people don't know what is to be done and what is not to be done. And therefore, the soul society is in a very chaotic condition, and Prabhupada called it childish, misguided civilization. And now they have elected a man to be the president of the United States, but everyone knows that he's not a sane man. Somehow or other, they elected a crazy man to be the president of the United States, and so he wants to do crazy things. And he told all the people that they should go to Africa and kill elephants and cut off their heads and bring them back to put in their room, put on their wall. So everybody knows. I never read the newspaper or watch the news, but people tell me these things. I heard one devotee said it in class. So this is the problem in the world today. People don't know what to do or what not to do. So they are totally bewildered, totally confused. But we know, at time of initiation, the Guru tells us, chant 16 rounds, follow four regulated principles: no meeting, no gambling, no intoxication, and no illicit sex. This is called the anarthana vritti, When we come to the stage of Nartha Nivritti, we give up all unwanted things. Then we can progress farther to Nishta, to Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and Prema. And Bhava is the preliminary stage to Prema. So Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came 500 years ago. He's Radha Krishna Naya. He's a combination of Radha and Krishna. He came to inaugurate the Sankirtan movement, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and to deliver the fallen people in the stage of Kali Yuga. So he came to inaugurate the Sankirtan movement, and he also came to understand the mood of Srimati Radharani and conjugal, mellow conjugal love. And this is all described very clearly in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Srila Prabhupada compiled over 70 volumes of books, traveled over the world 14 times in 12 years. He was over 70 years old. He did this on the order of his spiritual master. So when he was 22, in 1922, he met his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, who ordered him to preach in Krishna consciousness, teach this message of Lord Chaitanya all over the world, in the English-speaking world. At that time, Prabhupada was a staunch believer in was following the Mahatma Gandhi and the non-cooperative movement to drive the British out of India. And Prabhupada thought that Krishna consciousness couldn't be spread all over the world as long as India was an independent country. But Bhaktisiddhanta defeated that notion. He said this movement is more important. It can't wait for some material consideration. So Prabhupada spent his life preparing himself to carry out that instruction of his order, of his Guru Maharaj, to preach Krishna consciousness in the Western world. And somehow, after long endeavor, it became successful. Now they made the movie, Prabhupada, the movement, and mantra, and so people can come to appreciate the Krishna consciousness movement and come forward and even join us. And this is what we want. We want to save people from the suffering in the material world of repeated birth and death. It says, Bhagavad-Gita says that from childhood, from childhood to youth to old age and then to death, one has to take birth again, dhira, etc. But the self-realized soul is not bewildered by such changes. Janma, mrityu, jara, vadi. Birth, death, old age, and disease. These things are there. Everyone is subject to the laws of material nature, and it can't overcome it, or can't circum it. No one can stop birth, no one can stop disease, no one can stop old age, and no one can stop death. Even though the scientists are promising in the future they're going to stop disease and they're going to stop death, but we don't accept such foolish proposition. So we have to be a surrendered soul and be surrendered to the order of the spiritual master. Their defense in chanting the holy name is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. This is Prabhupada told one devotee that you should become the head Bajari. This is Mexico City, and he was the best Sankirtan devotee there, the number one Sankirtan devotee. So he said no, Prabhupada. But the servant of Prabhupada told the devotees, you don't say no to your spiritual master. If your spiritual master gives an instruction, you say, yes, sir. It's like Tamal Krishna Maharaj was head of the Radha Damodar party in the 70s. They had the bus parties. They were going all over America distributing books, preaching, and they were causing some disturbance to the temple presidents. So they went to Prabhupada and complained. So Tamal Krishna said to Prabhupada, well then, better you just send me to China. This was in the nighttime. So the next morning, Prabhupada called him in his room and said, you should go to China. But Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, well, I was just joking. He said, you don't joke with the spiritual master. So Prabhupada gave him an order, and he tried to follow up on that order. So now we're preaching in China, and we even have 2 temples in China, even though it's communist and it's a struggle to preach there. So in this way, the devotees are surrendered their lives to Krishna consciousness. We shouldn't get overwhelmed or bewildered by the external energy and thinking that something is more important than becoming Krishna consciousness. In the second chapter, second canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says there's nothing else in this world that any human being should do but practice Krishna consciousness. So we should know that Vrindavan, Mayapur, these places are meant for retirement, and we should always be looking for the opportunity to come to the Holy Dham and stay here permanently and do our bhajan and practice Krishna consciousness and not do anything else, or not get distracted by internet, by so many things, by other material facilities. We should always be in Krishna consciousness, always try to chant the pure name. There's 3 stages of chanting in Nam Aparad, Nam Avas, and Shuddhanam. So we should try to avoid the 10 offenses and chant purely the holy name of Krishna, and just hear the sound vibration. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Chintamani Krishna, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. The Krishna and Krishna's name are non-different. So if we chant purely, then we'll realize Krishna is dancing on our tongue. Then we'll realize our Sarup, what our eternal relationship with Krishna. Everything will be revealed by this chanting the pure Shuddhanam. So it's a gradual process, and we have to endeavor to every day try to chant as much as possible. Chant 16 rounds at least, but chant as much as possible, and try to chant as attentively as possible, and do engage in service also to try to please Krishna and Guru. The Prabhupada said if you're doing your service, but you're not trying to become Krishna conscious at the same time, then you're wasting your time. So we shouldn't waste our time living in Vrindavan. We should try just always endeavor to become Krishna conscious, even while we're living here. Even though there may be so many impediments, we still have to try to follow that instruction. Chant at least 16 good rounds every day, and follow the 4 regular principles. And this way, our life can become successful. If you leave your body in Vrindavan, if you think of Krishna, then you'll be able to go back to Krishna in this lifetime and not have to take birth again in the material world. Hare Krishna. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.